Most people in this country are very polite and interested. Do not think that London is representative of the UK.
Would an accent bother you? Honest opinions.
Honest opinion. Hey everyone.
Hey guys.
Welcome to today's video.
This is so I guess the idea is we want to tell people what you think Koreans should do to make friends in England. It's quite limited to obviously our own opinions, it's not for everyone, so just bear that in mind. What I said first of all was to have a good set of hobbies.
So,
would you agree?
British people not interested in people who are one-dimensional in the respect of all they know is their education.
Which is quite different from South Korea, because in South Korea, if you're very good at studying, that's kind of you.
No one cares.
No one cares.
They might be like, oh, well done, but they would be far more interested in everything else that you were about. So we much prefer a jack of all trades in this country than a master of one and a failure in all others. Having an interest in music, having an interest in sport in particular. We are a huge sporting nation.
It's a big sporting nation.
Sports is basically a topic of conversation, a conversation starter for pretty much most people, especially amongst boys.
What sports do you think is, the most highly respected in this country?
Look, football. If you support a football team, you know anything about football, that is a topic of conversation for probably 80%, 85% of all men will know something about football and will have a conversation with you about football. And any other sports, you won't be exposed to sports like rugby and cricket.
I personally did rowing at school, but the reason why I took that up was I realised there was a massive community of rowers, and joining that basically gave me a team of people that was really bound together with rowing, so it naturally gives you the opportunity to have a friendship group, and that's, I think, in itself fantastic. I
would say as well, I've played sport with many South Koreans actually. And in my second year, when I was second team captain of a university team, our best winger was South Korean, and he came over only 2 years before and learnt rugby whilst at university, and he absolutely loved it. So don't be scared of throwing yourself into something like that, because he created some great mates from that.
I think they should know the classics of TV, but this is obviously limited to my own TV tastes, and I don't know what other people think about it, but I can't let this video slip out without talking about Love Island, I don't think, because Love Island has been causing chaos and storm around this whole country, and everyone has been watching it, and I think it's really worth watching. I'm not saying the TV show is high quality, but it's got amazing levels of different people from all around the country.
It's worth saying at this point that I'm presuming that many of your views and understandings of what the UK is like are based on our old heritage and history, so programs like Downton Abbey, Harry Potter. That kind of percentage of the population does exist, but I'd say it's probably about 1% of the population.
Yeah.
If you watch something like Love Island, you're probably looking at about 65-70% of the population. So if you can understand the humour and the phraseology from that, then it will really help position you in this country.
Yeah.
It's worth saying as well that we're not all as thick as the people. And you'll also be exposed to all the accents. Something you might not know about is that we all speak very different dialects of English.
Yeah. With
all sorts of weird phrases and ways of saying things and accents, which can be quite difficult to understand from time to time. I myself am from southern England, so I speak the Queen's English, as you call. But
speaking of,
there's plenty of other accents going on.
Speaking of posh English, I think you should also check out Made in Chelsea, because I'm personally a big fan of Made in Chelsea. It doesn't represent obviously most of the population because it's very posh English, but I think it's a great show, and a lot of people watch it enough that it's worthy of watching. Probably one more thing really quickly is Bake Off. Britons love their baking. So yeah, those three TV shows, Love Island, Bake Off and Made in Chelsea, I feel like they're a bit trashy taste, but who cares?
One other programme I'd like to mention is Top Gear.
Yes,
both the new one and the old one. There are parts of it that could be deemed slightly dodgy, but it's all meant in good taste, and that really shows you what the Brits are like 100%. because I think we should lead on to the idea of talking about sarcasm.
Yeah, we will do.
Sarcasm is extremely important to British culture, and it's very hard for many foreigners to understand how sarcastic we are. Most British people don't mean offence to anything, and even if they do offend you, I would just be careful, because it may be sarcasm and they may not truly mean it. We live in a very dark country, the weather's horrible, and it's a bit grey.
Yeah.
So to lighten our mood, we have to be sarcastic and humorous and a bit savage.
Yeah. But I would just like to add, I have experienced quite a lot of racist jokes, and when it gets just too far, you also have to put your foot down and say, that's not funny. And it's okay to do that. I'm just saying, with general sarcasm, that's, you know, not targeting anyone. You just gotta be chilled out about it.
Don't polarize yourself to the idea of like understanding how we work as a country, and also like get involved with stuff. Often people that I've seen at university, especially in my group studying, and also at school when I was at boarding school, a lot of the foreigners that struggled were those that weren't interested in speaking to British people or getting involved in activities that we were up to. So I'd highly recommend, like, whatever you do, whatever reason you have to be here, get involved in some way.
A lot of the people that I've seen who are Asian stay with Asians. I'm pretty much British, but at the same time I had to give up Korean friends here. So I literally have no one who speaks like a Korean, who knows Korean culture, no one. My personal advice is be outside your comfort zone. You don't need Korean friends here. You're not in South Korea, you're in England.
100%. And I'd also say, like, of course there's Korean societies at universities and things like that, but I would just be wary, like, go and join them, but also don't just join those, like go and get involved in societies with people from all walks of life. The UK is a melting pot of so many nationalities.
Yeah,
to be British
so
is
diverse,
not just white British. There's a huge number of different people in this country.
I think it's fair to say that if you're coming over to England, especially London, you're not coming here to meet British people, you're literally coming here to meet everyone from everywhere. Therefore, I think it's so important for you to keep your mind open, and it will challenge you, but you just got to get on with it. And that's
the other thing is, if you're coming to the UK and you're coming to London, which I suspect many of you would, that would be the first place you come. Do not think that London is representative of the UK. It is so different. London, as someone who lives and comes from outside of the M25, we call it the M25 bubble, is London.
Oh, I didn't know.
And it's not necessarily representative of the UK. It's obviously somewhat representative, but you must make sure that you go and travel outside and go and see what the rest of the country has to offer. And that doesn't mean just going to Oxford and Cambridge, to Manchester, going to Liverpool, going to Birmingham, going to York, yeah, that's a good shout. Going to Brighton. There's a place in the country that you really want the best views and the true British countryside and culture. Go to Devon and Cornwall. Because they are beautiful, and the people are very nice.
Yeah. So far, what we've just talked about, I think mainly applies to everyone, but just for university students, I would also like to add that you gotta drink, but I feel like no one's gonna have a problem with that if you're South Korean.
There are an increasing number of people who are teetotal. So if you're teetotal, you don't drink, and there are an increasing number of people like that. But I would genuinely be open to the idea of getting involved with, not drinking copious amounts, but honestly the biggest British tradition is to go to the pub and just have a pint. It's a very sociable atmosphere. You get to meet lots of different types of people.
Yeah.
And pubs are probably the best British invention. I know everyone jokes about British food being horrible, but I would heavily suggest, like, go to a pub and have a Sunday roast, or go to a pub and have a British pie and see what you think.
Do you think it is a barrier where we're Asians? Do you expect them to talk to you first?
Me, on a personal level, I will go and speak to anyone, it doesn't really matter. London, it's much easier than other places because London's so multicultural, but there's parts of the country that are less used to having foreign faces about. That's not meant in a racist way. It's almost like an act of defence because they've not met someone like you before. So they're kind of like, ooh, you know, what do I think? What should I think? I would back yourself to go and change the stereotype that they might have about Asian people being quiet. Most people in this country are very polite and interested. That doesn't necessarily mean they will engage with you and be the first instigator of a conversation. But once you start having a conversation with you, they'll really warm to you quickly.
Really nice to you. you.
So-
Is an accent a boundary? Would an accent bother you to make friends with someone? Honest opinions.
Honest opinion, no, not really.
But what is a bigger barrier than that is you shying away because you feel like your accent's not good enough.
If you don't fully engage with someone, it will be kind of awkward and they'll just feel like they're having a conversation, sake of having a conversation with you. It's when it starts to feel very free and open and it's very fluid conversation that we really get to like know people and make friends.
Remember, we're all humans at the end of the day. Isn't that so true? We're all humans. They're all anxious about the same things that we worry about in South Korea. That's what I figured after 10 years. So
I, from personal opinion, would say that South Koreans, Asian people, tend to be quite timid and won't talk about themselves because it quite rightly it's deemed to be impolite to do such a thing. But having a bit of personal anecdotes, personal stories to tell is really good because it introduces a bit of personal conversation to
I think so.
And people bounce off each other, so if you have a story about something, someone else might have a related story and you can just start sort of going backwards and forwards. Subscribe.
No, yes,
like.
Do subscribe, like. Oh my, this is
Click
so
the bell
embarrassing.
icon.
There's no bell icon.
For notifications.
Oh my god. But yeah guys, thank you so much for watching my video today, and honestly, thank you for your time, and I'll try my best to come up with a better video next time. Thank you so much.
Today we'll be showing you soft toys and a good time.
I regret this so badly. Can I just like share a disclaimer that I've not actually drank that much? It looks like I've drank a whole pint, but it was only full up to there. And
She's had a couple of those.
I'm not an alcoholic. I have not.
She's
this was
had
my
like
first one.
3 or 4.
No, it's not.
Today,
That's not
so-
funny. This is the first one. Okay.
By the
I
way,
literally just told them to take a joke.
just avoid.
Okay, just a
Don't
okay.
drink that.
Oh my god, this is so.
This is
embarrassing.
not that, but don't drink that.
So I'm drinking Blue Moon in a Foster's glass because I'm so classy,
and I'm even more classy
I'm just such a
drinking a beer out of a
lady.
can.
Yes, the one that I bought and I was storing in my fridge to drink next week, but obviously it's gone now.